You're welcome back to the show. This is still Jade today here on Jade TV. It's Wednesday, and you know that on Wednesday we talk about science. And Dr. Tagoe has come back. Dr. Thomas Amate Tagoe, he's a neuroscientist, science communicator at the University of Ghana. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How are you?
I am good. I'm good. I told you you'll be seeing me a lot more, and true to it, here we are. So yeah, it's a good Wednesday. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Let's talk about neuroscience. Why neuroscience for you?
So it's one of those things where, you know, you go through the studies. I mean, it was always going to be science, just because of a flair and enjoyment, a curiosity-driven thing. And then of all the courses I'll study, it's just so intriguing. You know, we sometimes fail to just appreciate the brain, the study of it, and how it underlies everything we are. And that opportunity to really be able to get to the heart of who we are, or as an individual, what makes you you. Yeah, it was a very intriguing prospect. So I enjoy it, and I study it for a life now, so not bad.
They say the science of learning. What does it mean? Right.
So, you know, as you're growing, you watch people walk and you learn how to walk. You watch how your parents eat, you learn how to also use cutlery and so on. But nobody ever teaches you how to learn, right? You just assume that, if I see, it will memorize and I can go and reproduce or I can understand and so on. So really that's what the science of learning is, to really understand how we learn. And once we understand how we learn, we can optimize it and make it more efficient. Whether it's you're learning maths or
that I don't like.
Or whether you're learning that, or you're learning an instrument, learning a skill, a sport, or anything like that. It's really the science of trying to understand how we learn, so we can be efficient at doing it.
For you as a neuroscientist, when I learn something new, how does my brain process it?
Right, so it's very good you asked that question, and it's even key because we are in exam season with the WASIS and so on, right? So there are a lot of things that sort of take place. It's not just a reading and automatically memorize, right? There are a lot of processes. Really, a lot of it boils down to what your brain considers to be important. And throughout this conversation, you'll see me probably treat you and your brain as like two different people per se, but what your brain considers important, and then tries to create connections so that it's easier to then replay that fact or remember that fact or keep that fact to be able to advise future activities. So for example, when you get burnt, you learn that thing is hot, so that next time you don't do it. That information is then used to advise future activity. And the same thing we're learning, right? When you go through the activity, there are various cells in your brain, and there are about 86 billion individual ones of them.
86
billion. Yeah, not million, billion. Add a few more zeros. And they then try and connect in such a way that that activity you just did can inform a future activity.
Now, let's look at memory and attention. How do we marry the two, especially when we're learning? And what role do the two play?
So vital. So when it comes to learning, there are, beyond just memory and attention, there are a few things to sort of keep note of, because all of it is about trying to store it so that it will inform future things. Attention is probably one of the key things, you know, and social media ruins that a lot for us, because you're always jumping from one thing to the next and you never really get to pay attention. But once you pay attention, it's almost like becoming engrossed in it. And then your brain realizes, oh, this is important. Let's do that connection thing we like to do. So attention becomes important. And then sort of like repeating it also becomes important, because it means, okay, I've shown my brain this once, and then a few minutes later I've showed it the same thing again, and then again, it's like, okay, I get a message. I should try and connect this thing for future reference. So attention and memory really go hand in hand. And there are sort of like a few other things to be able to make the learning more efficient in that regard.
How does the lack of attention affect memory?
Right, it's that thing that it passes, right? Because if you're not paying attention and you're telling your brain that this is not important, so you just do it and it's in and it's gone, it's in and it's gone. And I think we've all experienced it, right? Maybe even you're having a conversation with someone and then a thought came into mind, so you start thinking about it. And before you know it, you heard them, but you cannot remember the thing they said and having to ask them to repeat, right? And that's even on a short-term basis. So now you can imagine if it's a lesson, if it's something you're trying to remember, whether it's for an exam or even understand because you are learning a skill or so on, and you're not paying attention, it means your brain just treats it as a passing experience. It just came in and is out just because you weren't consciously focusing on it.
Is sleep important to the brain?
Super important. I will say this, I learned this in my undergraduate years, when I used to study for exams, and we are all guilty of this, right? You study late into the night, maybe some don't even sleep, you go into the exam. And then I learned how important sleep was, and ever since then, you will never catch me sleeping less than 6 hours, especially if I have something important the following day. Because it's when you sleep, that's when it's like you are out of the picture, and now the brain gets to work. And it's like, okay, what did you do throughout the day? What was important? What wasn't important? Everything that was important, let's, double check it. Let's underline it. Let's store it away safe to revisit. Everything that wasn't important, let's get rid of it. So it's during that sleep phase that the brain does something very important. We call it memory reconciliation. It basically takes everything that's important, solidifies it so it's easier to remember, and everything that's not important, it gets rid of it. It's the time that it does what we call house cleaning duties, right?
Okay.
All the waste materials in the brain is that time it gets rid of it. Anything. It's basically you are asleep, so now that you are out of the way, let's fix the house and get ready for another day. So on that basis, you can now imagine what happens when you don't sleep, right? The waste builds up in the brain, the attention drops the following day, the thing that you thought you'd learned didn't really get backed up or saved properly, so that is easily lost. And, just especially when it's chronic, a chronic lack of sleep, not only does it affect health, it's affecting the immune system, it's affecting memory. You reach your 70s, you can't remember stuff, and it's only then that someone like me will come and tell you it's because you didn't sleep during the day.
Someone wants to know if a student is constantly sleeping in class, what does that mean?
Oh, maybe the teacher is boring, but that's right away. No, not that. I think it'll be a mixture of things. So as people, we naturally go through the brain naturally goes through two sleep cycles, ideally, where there's like a late night, early morning time it wants to sleep. And then also around the middle of the day time it wants to sleep. So you notice there's a lull between 12 and 4. Most people, the energy isn't really there. So there's a natural cycle. But because of the way we've created the world and the way we work, we don't get that. So if students sleeping in class, there's nothing stimulating them to try and pay attention. Even if they want to pay attention, their brain is like, yeah, I'm not interested. So it's harder to pay attention. And then, of course, the usual culprit, just lack of sleep. Students, the amount of sleep for babies, toddlers, we're looking at 10, 12 hours. For teenagers, they should be doing 10 hours easily. And most of them don't do that, whether it's because they have responsibilities at home or social media and being awake is just more fun. So just the lack of sleep will then cause problems during the day. Yeah.
Now, are there emerging science research, especially when it comes to neuroscience, on effective learning, on retention?
Oh, yeah. It's quite a few. It's partly what I also do personally. So at the University of Ghana Medical School, we do some of this research. But I started touching on it, so there's good evidence to say that paying attention is really important for learning. Sleep. So after you learn the stuff, sleep. After you learn the stuff, sleeping after that is very good. Counterintuitively, actually taking breaks. So, you learn a little, you stop, go do something else, come back, learn the same thing again or something else. Just taking breaks, because in between it adds the repetition, which I've already mentioned, repetition. And then very counterintuitively, making mistakes. Making mistakes is very important to the learning process. And there's a lot of studies to try and find out for each person, what combination of these things do you need? And that's some of what we are even looking at the University of Ghana now. What combination does each of these people need to be able to make their learning that much efficient?
What practical tip will you give viewers for effective learning today?
Okay. First thing, find how long you can pay attention for. For each of us is different. Maybe from day to day is different. I'll say find how long you pay attention for. A good way to do it is if you have to study or you have to read something, just before you start, set a timer and start doing it. When you realize your attention is about to lapse, stop the timer, figure out for yourself how long it takes, and then give yourself a 10-minute break from there. After the 10-minute break, you know that, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes is how long I can pay attention for. Come back and repeat that cycle. And it's better you do that rather than force yourself to do a 2-hour, 3-hour cramming session because, that's not that effective in comparison to focus your 20, 30, 15 minutes, 5-10-minute break, come back, repeat. That on and off cycle is more efficient as far as research is concerned as opposed to that. So that's one at least practical thing.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc, for coming. We'll be seeing you more.
You will be seeing me. Yeah,
so
yes.
Dr. Thomas Amartey Tagoe. He's a neuroscientist and a science communicator with the University of Ghana. That should do it for the segment. When I come back, I'll take you to church.